All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Stocks and Coffee. We usually do these on Saturdays, but with the 4th of July holiday, I figured Sunday would be a better day. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. As usual, give me a shout out in the chat, who you are, where you're from, and if you're drinking coffee. I'm always looking for good coffee recommendations. And then we will get to what we're going to go over today, the usual market analysis. And we've got some important events in July to pay attention to, and we're at key levels in the market right now. We're going to go over a couple of setups that are really in play right now, and some stocks that are formulating those setups that we can potentially trade. Big tech review, and then we have a deal with the swing service. Those of you who are not swing members, it's a really good deal right now. 4th of July deal is usually one of the best. All right, let's do some of the shout outs here. Nice turnout for a holiday weekend. Freddie, what's going on from Miami? Tim's drinking his dark roast from Chicago. Nicola from Bulgaria. We've got our first international, another international one here, but a lot closer. Brian from Vancouver. Ajit from India. A lot of international members today. All right. We have Alex drinking his Lavazza from LA. Chris, what's going on? Jesse, what's going on? Krispy Kreme, doing the holiday morning, right? Rahul, what's going on? Green tea. Uh, Too healthy for me, but that's good for you, Rahul. Drinking a little more healthy than I am. Rich, what's going on from Chicago? Uh, Chris is already at his coffee. Yeah, it's noon where a lot of you guys are right now, and Chris is from Ontario. Dennis, what's going on? Dennis, my buddy, lives about 10 minutes away in San Diego, drinking his Pete's. Daniel, drinking a cherry twist energy drink. From Arkansas, Ajit, what's going on? Jason, we have Howard from NYC. All right, good. So let's get to it. Enjoy, Joy, what's going on? Let's start with the market analysis. And I think most of us know where we are right now, and that is the market is not only at all-time highs, but has broke through all-time highs. And one of the things you want to pay attention to anytime the market is breaking to all-time highs is what is the strength of the overall market. So essentially, we look at the market trend, of course, which is important. And the reason we do that, even if you're not trading the market, doesn't mean when we do this market analysis, it doesn't mean we plan to trade SPY or the NASDAQ or the Russell or anything like that. It sets the tone for how we're going to trade and lets us know how strong or weak the market is. So we can decide how aggressive or conservative we want to be. It can let us know, do we want to be more long or do we want to be more short? And of course, since the tariff low, we wanted to be aggressively long. And then it also, and this is really important, helps us decide what setups are in play for us. So we've got a tool belt of setups, right? If you're trading swing, you probably have 30 or 40 different setups that you can potentially trade. And if you add options to that, a lot more. So we have this big tool belt. And like anyone using a tool belt, they're all great tools, but they work best in certain situations, right? You don't want to use a screwdriver when you need a hammer, and vice versa. So we want to know what setups should we be trading right now, and there are two that are really in play right now as the market has broke to all-time highs. And when the market's breaking into all-time highs, that means most of the strong stocks that we're watching are around that level as well. In the swing service, we have that Focus 40 that we watch very closely that keeps changing with our Focus 40 candidates and even our Focus 40 discards when we weed it out. And those are the strongest momentum stocks that we want to be trading. So most of those should be somewhat mirroring what the market is doing and usually doing better in terms of percentage gains. Otherwise, why trade those instead of just trading an index ETF? So that's where we are at SPY. We are in an uptrend. If we pull this thing out more long term, we can see essentially since we could go all the way to the pandemic low here, but we had a top and then a bottom here in 2022. So we'll say since 2022, we've been in an uptrend with a few shaky spots. We had a shaky spot here in late 2023, some minor ones here, kind of standard pullbacks, but it's interesting when you're in these things, they don't feel like standard pullbacks. And of course, we had the big tariff meltdown and have recovered very quickly and are essentially back on trend. So we expect most of our stocks again to be around this level. And we can see here in terms of the S&P 500, a few days ago, it broke the high and has been floating higher and is getting a little extended. If we look at stochastics are at extended levels. This is a rate of change measure. When it's up here, the market's kind of overbought. And if it's down here, it is oversold. So the market is a little bit extended. I would expect at some point here a pullback and potentially a retest of this old high. We'll see what the market ends up doing, but that wouldn't surprise me. So very strong market overall in terms of trend, but a little extended. And then when the market is a little extended, doesn't mean you don't want to be adding positions, but you do want to be a little more cautious. You don't want to get super aggressive. So that's where we are in terms of trend right now. And if we look at the Qs, we're going to see something very similar. Now remember, the Qs is more tech-based, but it's not all text. If we pull this thing out, we're going to see a bunch of stocks in here, like Costco and some retail stocks in here, and so on, that are not tech, but it's heavily weighted in tech. And then we can use XLK to look at the tech portion of the S&P 500. And notice that is very strong as well. And then as a breadth indicator, I like to look at IWM, which is the small cap or mid cap, small and mid cap ETF. 2,000 stocks gives us a broader view of the overall market. And look how strong that has been. Now notice here, it is not at all-time highs because it dipped even more so than SPY and the Qs during the whole tariff meltdown. So it's not at all-time highs yet. So you could see that as maybe a negative divergence. But if we take the low to where it is right now, the percentage gain has been very strong. So I'll treat this as a positive indicator in terms of market breadth. So this is telling us it's a broad-based kind of move, and small caps are strong as well, which we want to see, and mid caps with our momentum type stocks that we want to be trading. So that's all good. Those of you who are regulars here, we look at a few others. We look at T2108, which is stocks above their 40-day moving averages. Notice that at highs as well. So confirming what we're seeing in the market. And then if we look at RSP, much like IWM, notice RSP is lagging in terms of it has not broke the all-time high. And again, for those of you who don't know, RSP is the equal weighted ETF. So it takes S&P 500 stocks and weights all of them 0.2%, which is what you would think of the S&P is doing, but the S&P 500 does not do that. It weights them. So Apple and Tesla alone are worth 3%. The top 10 holdings are worth about 35% of SPY right now. So it's not an accurate depiction of all 500 stocks, but RSP does that. Now notice here, you could see a potential negative divergence in that it hasn't broken higher. Remember, SPY is up here compared to this range. But again, it pulled back deeper than SPY did. And the actual percentage gain from low to high here is very strong. So we'll take that as confirming what we're seeing. And we can use QQEW for the Qs as well, and very similar. So essentially, this is a broad-based move. We have no worries in terms of market breadth, keeping pace with the overall market. If there was one concern right now in terms of just the overall technical analysis, not factoring in any of the macro or political news, that would be that a little bit extended, especially off, not only from the lows, but especially off the break here. So that's something to be maybe a little bit cautious of. So that's our quick trend and breadth analysis. Of course, we can dig deeper, but for now, the idea here is the market's bullish, maybe a little extended, so we should be a little bit cautious. But outside of that, we like what we're seeing overall in terms of the overall market. The other thing to note is if we look from low to high here, we would never imagine all of the kind of crazy news we've had through this period in terms of both geopolitical and wars, and then politics and all that as well, and inflation and the Fed. The Fed has been actually a little hawkish or bearish, and the market has basically ignored all of that. Another indication of a strong market when we see all of these things, especially Most importantly, I would say would be the indications of the Fed, and the market has basically ignored that. So we're in a very strong market. So we have that trend and breadth analysis. A couple of things to pay attention to for July. First of all, July tends to be a strong month, which most months that where earnings season start tend to be good months. And earnings season starts in the middle of the month, and that is when the banks start reporting. So the easiest thing to do is look at the JP Morgans and Wells Fargo's and see when they report. And you can see 15th for JP Morgan. Wells Fargo will be right around that same date, 15th. Bank of America on the 14th. So right at mid-month, we have the earnings season starting. So that's obviously news events that we should be paying attention to. And at the end of the month, so we don't really have to worry about it during the month, but at the end of the month, 29th and 30th, we have the next Fed meeting. And of course, that is going to be important. And then remember, seasonality wise, July tends to be strong. So that's another thing in our favor. So the market's a little bit extended. We'd love to see a little bit of a pullback and then a run throughout July. Now, remember, when we talk about seasonality, that's taking an average of the last however many years, 30 to 50 years. That doesn't mean every year is like that. So, for example, June tends to be one of the weakest months, yet our June here was very strong. So take that with a grain of salt, but it gives you a little bit of edge in terms of seasonality. All right, if you guys have any questions, let me know in the chat here. I'm going to go over a few stocks here, but I didn't make a big watch list this today. So if you guys have any stocks you want me to take a look at, post them in the chat here as well. Now let's go over two of the key setups that we're paying attention to right now. We've actually got 4 or 5 that we're really watching very closely for our potential trades in the swing service. But there are 2 that I really like that I want to go over with you guys today. And I recognize a lot of swing members, so a lot of you guys know this already. But when the market is at all-time highs, of course, a lot of stocks are going to be doing something similar. And one of the very easy setups to trade is when we've broke to an all-time high. So let's say we have our previous high there. We consolidate for a while, which you can see here. That's exactly what the market did here in a bunch of stocks. A lot of our stocks are going to look exactly the same. But here was essentially what I'm drawing here. You have the pullback, and obviously we had the bigger pullback here. I didn't draw it like that, but we have a pullback in consolidation. And then when we break this high, generally, stocks are not just going to run in a straight line, but that is a very good signal, especially if you've had a long consolidation, that higher prices and a bigger run. And one of the things we do to kind of measure where we think the market can go is use a measure move. Whatever the extent of the pullback was, our expectation is that's the potential for the next move. So if this was, say, 80 to 110, and we see like 30 points, or you could do by percentage as well, we'd expect now the breakout to go from 110 to 140. So you can use that measured move, but it doesn't go up in a straight line. And what often happens is you get a breakout and then a run up, and eventually you get a pullback and a retest of that old high. And that is the key level. So you can trade the breakout and you can profit from this here, a quick kind of trade. And then when it pulls back, watch to see how price reacts to that old high. Does it find support here, which is very easy? Then if you see some strength, you can enter right in here. Sometimes it'll even violate a little bit and then remount, and then you can trade the remount. So some version of that, either it holds and then shows strength, and then you enter here, and you've got your nice continuation pattern trade, or it even violates a little bit, but then recovers. And when you see the remount of the old high, not this high here, but the old high, you can get in here also for that continuation pattern trade. And we've been doing a lot of that and targeting a lot of those stocks as well. So that's the first key setup we're watching. That's the all-time high breakout and first retest. And we have 2 good examples here. We're actually in Uber right now, and Carvana did this as well. Let's pull up Carvana here, and you basically see exactly what I just drew, right? If we look at this pattern here, this is essentially Carvana. You can see here, had the old high, deep pullback, ran up, broke the high here, made its run, and look at how it pulled back exactly to that old high. It also corresponded closely with the 50-day moving average. And the strength here, that's your spot for the potential entry. And now it's starting to run. This pattern here is very common on breakouts. And we're in Uber right now, and you can see the same pattern here. We had a box breakout here. We had here's the high breakout, the pullback, and we see the strength here, and then the run up. So watch for this setup. We've got a number of stocks here putting in that setup right now. We'll go over these in a second. Let's go over the next setup, and that's where a setup where essentially it's in the same kind of overall cycle or pattern as what has already happened with the all-time high breakout. It's just lagging a little bit in terms of where it is in the overall cycle. So what we drew here is the stock that has actually already broke out. A lot of stocks have not quite broke out yet. They might have had deeper pullbacks. So watch these stocks that had really deep pullbacks and say have remounted key levels, key moving averages, and are at about right here right now. So if this is the all-time high, and I look for stocks that are about 5 to 10% off their all-time high. That gives enough room to take profit at the high, at that resistance level. And also what we find is once stocks get to this level, when they've had a deep pullback and recover, and they get close to that all-time high, it's like a magnet. Most of these stocks are going to hit that all-time high. So it's a high probability trade here. When you get close to that all-time high, to take the entry there. So that's essentially the setup. You've had a deep pullback. The stock has remounted key levels. Maybe it's consolidated here a little bit or is giving you a little bit of a pullback. Enter there 5 to 10% near the all-time high. Target the all-time high. I don't generally play the breakout because this can act as resistance, and sometimes they'll consolidate for a while. But keep watching that stock, and if it breaks, then you can re-enter. We did that recently with NVIDIA here, and you can see here, we had entered somewhere in here. I don't remember the exact price, but notice here, it broke out, and on this day, when it tested that all-time high, we got out. This one actually did float higher and is now retesting, but this was essentially the trade. And we are in RL, Ralph Lauren right now, and you can see that same setup. Pull back here within about 5 or 10% of the all-time high, and our expectation is, and we're targeting that high, and our expectation is it will hit that high. Two variations, two things to watch for around the all-time highs. That's again the stocks that have already broke the all-time high and are pullback plays at that range. And then the stocks that haven't hit that level yet are within 5 or 10% within the high. And I like these stocks to be stocks that were previous momentum leaders as well and had deep pullbacks. And those are very good candidates for that float to the all-time high. So two of my favorite setups right now that we are on the lookout for. If you guys have any examples, you can post them here. Otherwise, we'll get to our watch list stocks right now that are setting up for this current week. I have a question here from Ajit. Does seasonality matter a lot because stocks can have different news or earnings in different years? Exactly. So, we have a lot of different variables that we're taking into account, right? We have setups, we have stocks, we have industry analysis, stocks from strong industries, we have news events, all these different things that are coming into play. Seasonality is one other piece of the pie. It's not everything. Yeah. So if I see a very strong stock and maybe seasonality is telling me this month is weak, that doesn't mean I won't trade it. But it is a factor to think about. Then we do our market analysis to see if that's how it's playing out. But it's not the be all end all by any means. All right, Miriam is asking about AMD. That is one of my favorite stocks right now. It is a very different setup than what we just talked about. So not one of these two setups. This is actually a stock that has really been lagging. You can see it had been a downtrend, recently broke its downtrend and remounted the 200-day moving average. Look at all that good volume coming in. And even when semiconductors were strong, this thing was getting hit very hard. But looks like its fortunes have changed, broke the downtrend. And what is really key is when it made its bottom here and started to run, look at all that good volume coming in. That's telling us institutional ownership is coming into the stock. Now we're watching for, what I've been watching for is is it going to pull back to the 200-day moving average and test, or is it just going to pull back to the 9 EMA? So I think the key here this week, if it starts to show strength around the 9 EMA, I think it's a good entry, and we can place our stop under the range here. And there's a lot of room to the upside here as well. And it also had a very good its last earnings reaction was strong as well, after a lot of poor earnings reactions during the downtrend. So I do like AMD a lot here. Okay, a rule. Okay, I'm gonna get to the rest of your questions after I go over these about 10 stocks here. Then I'll get your questions, and if you guys have any more questions, let me know here as well. Let's take a look at this first setup we went over. That's the all-time high breakout and first retest. Let's look at Hood, Oklo, Rocket Lab, and Palantir. Let's start with Hood. Notice here, Hood, exactly what we've been talking about, broke its all-time high. This is also an IPO high, which is a very key level. And now we're watching for the potential pullback. Hasn't really pulled back yet. It's starting to consolidate, but we'll be watching this closely. Does it end up retesting here? If it does, this is going to be a very good test candidate for an entry. Notice here, Oklo broke its all-time high here, has pulled back. And remember, we were saying sometimes they can violate a little bit, then we look for the remount. And that's what we're watching for with Oklo. Does it remount this range? So I'm going to be watching about 56.75 to 57 very closely here. And it's sitting at 53.72 right now. Then we have Rocket Lab and PLTR, RKLB. Notice here, the all-time high was right here around 32.50. They're sitting at 35.66. We'll see if it pulls back and tests that range. And then PLTR broke out here at around 125, sitting at 134. And we'll see again, does it retest that level? So those are the 4 stocks to watch this week. Some of them might never retest, but the ones that do, watch for that strength at that level. The ones that don't, they might formulate other setups. Maybe Palantir here never does pull back to that range, but when it breaks the high, we could trade the high break. So various ways to play these stocks, but we'll definitely be watching to see if they test those old highs. All right, now the deep pullback remount within about 5 to 10% now of its all-time high. So essentially, it pulled back really deep, most of them around the tariff. So these were strong momentum stocks that were leading the market that got hit very hard when the tariff news came out and have recovered, remounted, are back on trend, but haven't broke the highs yet. We have a bunch of these. Dave, Coin, IONQ, Dash Shop. Now, I had to really narrow this down. I could have put 20, 25 good ones on this list. Let's look at Dave here. You can see that's the line is where the all-time high is, which is also the IPO high. Notice here this pattern's almost identical to Hood. It's just not here yet, but it looks like it will get there. So this is a good candidate for the float to the highs. Same goes for Coinbase. You can see here, same overall market cycle pattern too with the IPO high here. Again, almost identical to Hood, just Hood is ahead of them up here. These guys are right in here right now. We have IONQ and Shop. IONQ, a quantum computing stock. We're in this one actually, and you can see potential float to the highs. QBTS is another quantum computing, almost identical setup, but this one has already broke the high and just did the retest of the high. So this would be this setup here. And notice here, most of them that did this setup, they were once the second setup that we're looking at, the deep pullback. They just have already done it. All right, now in Shopify, here's now. You can see here's the all-time high, about 5 or 10% away. And I know this is $1,000 stock, so for smaller accounts, it can be tough to trade this. You could use a bull call spread if you trade options. That would make it much cheaper to do. All right, so these are some of the stocks we're watching right now. You guys have a bunch of questions here. Let me actually just do the big tech review really quickly. And I'm not going to go over all of them. I'm just going to go over a few of my favorites. We're in Amazon right now, so obviously I like this one. And again, you can see we're trading these same setups. This is the, I think we got in here around 214 or 15. I don't remember exactly. But this is another one, expecting the float to the high around 240. Meta, one of our favorites now. This one we're watching for the break of the high. And I think since this has consolidated some and pulled back here, I wouldn't be even opposed to, generally we like to wait for the breakout, but this one has been so strong that I think we could even anticipate the breakout here for Meta. Netflix is a little extended. We're watching for a pullback here, and these are three of my favorites. Also AMD, which we already talked about, and then Nvidia here as well, as it tests the all-time high. And I think it's a decent entry where it is right now because it's not too extended off the all-time high. All right, let's get to some of your questions. But really quickly, there's a 50% off deal right now on the Swing service. I'm going to put it in the chat. That's if you join for a year. So you guys have the link to that in the chat if you want to join. Also, there's a 14-day free trial, but then I don't think you get the 50% off. So take a look at that. You guys know there's the chat room. Report video comes out every trading day. And then you guys have access to me, of course, at any time. All right, big tech review we did. Now let's get to the Q&A. Lots of good questions here. Miriam had asked about AMD. Rahul has CRCL, CRWV, and AVAB. Let's just go over one of them. Let's go over CRWV because I really do like this stock. You can see here, recent IPO, quiet period is over now, and we're in kind of the meat of, and it has had an earnings reaction as well. So there is some information on this IPO now, and the reaction has been positive, right? We see the big run up here. That shouldn't have lockup expiration for another few months. So we're in a good spot here, made the big run, starting to consolidate here. The question is, first of all, is this just going to keep consolidating and you're going to be sitting on a stock, or does it pull back deeper? So what I would probably do with this one is one of two things. One is wait for the break of this range, and that would set up the next big run. And likely you won't have to hold it for that run. It'll make a decision right away. Either it runs or you get stopped out. If you're willing to just kind of guess and hold for a little bit, I think this entry was fine, and I would use a stop a little under the range here. But my preference would be to play a potential breakout. Volume pattern is also pretty good with this stock. Let's look at AVAB as well. AVAB, we have the breakout pullback. Watch to see if it shows strength around the 9 EMA. Nicole is asking, do you think the renewal of tariffs on July 9th will affect greatly the market trend in July? So far, the answer to that has been no, right? As we've been going through this run here from the tariff low, there have been lots of little kind of mini tariff news that have come out. And maybe for a couple of days, you'll see some fear and a little bit of a pullback. But in terms of trend, unless it's something really major, I don't think so. But at any rate, we can change and adapt our thought process on that at any time. And at the end of the day, also, we focus on price action, right? So we don't need to make that judgment call right now, but we'll watch and see price action, how it's reacting. What has been happening is if the market does pull back, watch for good opportunities to enter on pullbacks. And that's kind of been the play through this. Anytime there's bad news related to tariffs or war or inflation or the Fed, it's been an opportunity to enter on your pullbacks. Lee is asking about OSCR. Gap down, not showing any strength right now. I probably wouldn't do much with this right now. We're not getting any signal that we're seeing strength here in the pullbacks over. Watch to see how it reacts to this key kind of support level right in here before making a decision on that. Ajit is asking, how do you decide your stop loss if a stock that didn't go according to pattern? Watch key support levels, and I always put the stop loss under that key support level. So Nicola is in Meta right now and looking at that 70.45 to 50 range. Yeah, you entered at a good spot where if you wanted to, you could take profits here. Well, actually, you entered at 7.15 that you still have to hold. But yeah, I would just hold this. Maybe put your stop, move your stop up. At entry would be a little tight. You might get chopped out. But you could probably move your stop up a little bit now and just see if we get the breakout. Eric is asking about BABA. China stocks have been starting to show some strength at support levels. You see the range I have drawn. So obviously I was looking at BABA as well. Well, here I wanted to see if it could hold this level, and it didn't. Obviously, we'd watch the 200-day moving average right now. If there's a lot of strength there, at the least you have a low risk play. Jason, I like ANET as well. All right, guys, that looks like the extent of the questions. Great questions as always. We'll do another one of these either next week or the week after. And again, those of you who are not Swing members, you can join either the free trial, and there are great deals right now. And you've got that link here. I'll post this link one more time. You guys can contact me anytime as well. singjd1@aol.com with any questions that you guys might have. There's some good blog posts on both Bulls on Wall Street. There was the 50 tips post. I have a couple of posts that I haven't published yet. I'll probably publish this week. And of course, my own site, pauljsing.com. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend, and I will see you guys tomorrow.